What I've got in my hand right now is a 40mm Riot CS smoke projectile manufactured in Jamestown, Pennsylvania, courtesy of Combined Tactical Systems. This is a tear gas canister. Now you might be wondering why I have this, and that's because last night New Jersey State Police fired this and other projectiles at myself and other protesters outside of Delaney Hall, an ICE detention facility. Now before I talk about what happened last night, I think it's really critical that you have a little bit of background. Prisoners inside of Delaney Hall recently have initiated hunger strikes and labor strikes over deplorable conditions within their facility. And when I say deplorable, I mean utterly unacceptable. They're reporting maggots in their food, scalding hot showers that are so hot they're leaving burns and blisters, their inability to get proper medical care, and their inability to have visitation from their family members, and even the use of chemical agents within the confines of the prison. Now, as the prisoners within that facility, that concentration camp, are engaging in these strikes, people outside of the facility have been engaging in protests to bring attention to what's going on. And as you would imagine, ICE, being the dickheads that they are, have been responding violently, attacking protesters day after day outside of the facility. Now, all of that brutality had led to countless videos and other reporting that had gotten so bad that the New Jersey state governor decided to step in. Now, did she try to help the protesters and the prisoners inside by meeting their core demands, or even try to get the prisoners out and shut down the ICE detention facility that is inside of her state? No. Instead, she released a public comment saying that she was going to establish what functionally amounts to a free speech zone where protesters could go to protest without fear of ICE reprisal. That free speech zone was a ridiculous idea because in creating it, she was enabling ICE to continue their operations unimpeded, and as such, of course, the protesters pretty much told her to go fuck herself. That then led to what happened last night, with state police coming in and beginning their operations against the protesters. It started with an alert by state police last night giving about 15-minute warning to the demolition of tents that were providing medical supplies, food, and water to the protesters. State police literally gave people about 15 minutes to get as much supplies out of the tents as possible, and then read the riot act saying that anyone who did not disperse from that area would be subject to possible arrest. Shortly after, the state police made good on their promise, tearing down a large amount of facilities as protesters were trying to get food, water, and other supplies to a secondary area to maybe salvage some of it. After that, the escalation got significantly worse, with police donning riot gear and beginning in line formation to move on the protesters. Now, it's critical to note that all of this started around the exact same time as an ICE shift change. All of the old ICE officers were trying to get home and new ones were trying to get in. So this was very clearly to all of us on the ground an instance of the New Jersey State Police coordinating with ICE to advance ICE's goals. State police were trying to get the protesters to move out of the way of the ICE facility so ICE could continue their operations unimpeded, so their people could move where they wanted to go. But then, as you might imagine, the riot line begins pushing in on the protesters. You start seeing them walk step by step as they also deploy tear gas and flashbangs on the crowd. What's particularly insidious about this too, by the way, is that they were launching a lot of the tear gas canisters behind the crowd and then flashbanging them at their feet in front, pushing the crowd into the tear gas smoke. Protesters who weren't moving fast enough were brutalized very rapidly by this police line. And in fact, not just protesters. One journalist told me that he had been pushed up against a pole where police had held a barrier against him and pinned him there, even as he was clearly identifying himself as press. Now, as all of this was happening, New Jersey State Police then brought in horses. They had officers on horseback wading through the tear gas smoke, harassing protesters as the riot lines were advancing. And as all of this was happening, ICE officers outside of their facility were taking paintball guns and shooting pepper balls and other things at protesters, taking pot shots at them to help New Jersey State Police. So as you might imagine, in all of this chaos, people are getting injured, people are inhaling tear gas, people don't really know what's going on, and the riot line continues advancing, pushing these protesters further away from the facility. ICE gets their initial people out, and then the ICE vehicles of the new agents that are going in to take the new shift drive through the fucking protest crowd. A full line of SUVs drove through the protesters, and then New Jersey State Police opened up their riot line to let them in. Again, clearly coordinating with ICE on the ground. The riot line then stopped for about 15 minutes because they had functionally achieved their goal before an officer blew a whistle, which led to a slew of flashbangs being rolled out in front of the crowd, with more tear gas canisters deployed as the state police pulled back. Now, all of that utterly fucking ridiculous. The state police, and by extension the governor, were clearly coordinating with ICE on the ground to ensure ICE could continue their operations amid a hunger and labor strike inside of their fucking facility. They launched this bullshit at us because the New Jersey state government cares more about ensuring that a concentration camp can continue operating as well as it can than bringing an end to the concentration camp itself. And then shockingly, the fucking New Jersey Attorney General released a statement saying the police had to respond because protesters were launching fireworks and gas canisters at the police. The gas canisters they were launching were 40mm Riot CS smoke projectiles being kicked out of the crowd that these had been launched into. So not not only was the New Jersey state government coordinating with ICE to maintain their operational solvency, they were then giving cover to the police officers that brutalized the protesters themselves. It is horrific and absurd, and yet another example of how ICE and all of their abusive actions realistically have bipartisan support. But yeah, I wanted to bring this up because what is going on in Delaney Hall and ICE concentration camps across the country is incredibly fucking important right now, and we need all eyes on these facilities to help these prisoners meet their demands. These people, these human fucking beings, I cannot stress this enough, do not deserve to be mistreated and tortured from within the confines of a concentration camp. And it is incumbent on all of us to do every single thing we fucking can to ensure that they do not have to face that kind of fucking treatment, that they can live free outside of the walls of facilities like Delaney Hall. But yeah, something worth thinking about, I think, is always fuck ICE, ACAB, salamu alaikum, and have a great day.